Hey guys, Miss Moxley here. I'm going to explore the scientific method with raisins and 7-Up today. So what we're going to do first is we're going to fill up. I've got a old glass pitcher here. I'm going to fill it up with some 7-Up, and then we're going to put some raisins in there and see what happens. What you should do while we're doing this is we're following or been looking at the scientific method. So um, I've got my worksheet printed out with the scientific method on it, so you should write in the questions what happens to raisins when we put them in a cup of 7-Up, your hypothesis, so your educated guess, what you think is going to happen. You want to put that in before you see what happens. The experiment in great detail, be very specific about what we're doing here in terms of the experiment. Your analysis, you're going to state what goes on during the experiment, and then the conclusion, state what happens, what can be drawn from this experiment, state whether your hypothesis was correct or not, state why you think that was, maybe do some research to determine why your hypothesis was correct or why your hypothesis was incorrect. So let's go ahead and get started. If you've not done that yet, fill in your question, fill in your hypothesis. If you need to pause the recording, go ahead and pause it before we get started on the experiment. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I've got just plain 7-Up. I want to fill it up enough so that you guys can see it. Alright, so that's about half. I used about half of a 2-liter here. And then I've got some just plain raisins. Alright, let's take a gander, see what happens. Alright, so on my end, I'll move the camera closer so you guys can see. Sorry, didn't mean to put my thumb there. Looks like bubbles. I'm hearing some fizzing, crackling, popping. Alright, so we've got some movement. So another good question is, for the raisins that are moving, and they all should move to some extent, why are they moving? Alright, so let's put some more in. So it's kind of hard for you guys to see. I can see though, I do have some movement with them on the bottom in terms of very slight movement, kind of just bouncing, twitching, and then the floating up and down. So make sure in your experiment you discuss each part of the step. So the 7-Up, adding the 7-Up, the raisins, the clear glass container. In your analysis, describe what went on in the experiment. And then in the conclusion, before you write in your conclusion, I would take a moment and research. Just go to Google and try to determine what is causing the raisins to move and float, and what's causing all the fizzing, all the bubbles in terms of the reaction with the raisins and the 7-Up. So make sure that you write all of that information down, and we will discuss that when I see you guys next.